Happy America Day and welcome to Scream Review. I'm Justin,
I'm Nick.
and today we'll be taking a look at episode 4, or 5.
No, it's 5, yeah.
Shit. Episode 5 of Scream, Dawn of the Dead.
Yeah, like 2 seconds before we recorded this, I was like, why is this called Dawn of the Dead? And then
There was a brief second pause, and we were just like, oh.
In unison. Oh. It was great. It was a eureka moment for all of us.
Indeed. Okay, so this was actually a very good episode.
Yeah, actually. Okay, like comparatively, like it's still Scream, but I have to say it is one of the best episodes in the series. I really like claustrophobic thrillers.
Yeah.
So to have this episode be a claustrophobic thriller is kind of interesting. Although I will say it's a little unrealistic having all those students in one room.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And also without supervision.
And parents, because they're all minors. So I would...
Anyway.
Yeah, anyway. So basically, okay, the plot of the episode, Jake's body fell down in the cliffhanger of the previous episode.
Yep. And I forget how we open up. Did we start with the pictures of the crime scene?
No, I don't remember, but it was just, we just watched it. Basically we open up with the kids all being kind of it's chaos. The sheriff comes in. Right. They're setting up crime scene tape, and everyone's kind of being herded into the library where they're gonna start questioning kids.
Yep. Emma and Audrey are trying to get to Brooke in the theater, though. Yeah. And the psych teacher is like, okay, fine, we can go. And then she takes them in with the sheriff shortly in tow. Which
I don't know if that would happen in real life,
but
per se.
It's Scream.
Yeah. So, they mentioned in the episode that it was 5 days since the party that happened in the first episode of the season.
When Jake went missing.
So every single episode up to this point has been like approximately a day, which is kind of interesting. Yeah. Because I'll have to go back and see, but I don't know if it probably isn't each episode takes place over the span of a day. That would actually be more interesting is to have like day 1, day 2, day 3. Yeah. Like maybe that would be more interesting, because I feel like in the show the whole idea of time kind of blends together. It could have been weeks. Yeah, honestly,
it felt like it could have been longer.
Yeah, because I even remarked last episode, like, why isn't Jake's body decaying? Which, so...
Yeah.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, okay, so they find... when Audrey goes to see Brooke, she finds her phone, and the killer has been texting Brooke the whole time as Jake. So then Audrey sends him this text, or him or her, we don't know who the killer is, sends the killer this text where it's like, you are going straight to hell. Which I thought to be extremely stupid. I mean, why is she antagonizing the killer in the first place?
On Brooke's phone.
Yeah, on Brooke's phone. So that makes Brooke even more of a target. I don't know. I found it odd.
Yeah, I agree. So next thing we see Emma walking into the learning center where they're keeping all the kids, and everyone's like, what is she doing here?
Oh, yeah.
What's she doing here? What's this girl who was involved with the first murders doing here?
No, it was kind of ridiculous. It's like, she was like the number one target of the last murders, so of course she would be there. Why wouldn't
she be there?
She would be like the number one person who they would ask questions about. I don't know.
It really doesn't make sense.
Anyway, so I guess it's the next scene. They find that Emma has the phone of Jake. Jake's phone on her, which has been sending Brooke all these texts.
It's been planted in her backpack somehow.
Yeah, and meanwhile, the cousin of the creepy cousin of Kieran.
So the way Emma finds out is she hears her phone go off in her backpack, but she goes like behind a bookshelf to check who texted her. When she looks at her phone, no one texted her. When she searches deep in her backpack, though, she finds another phone that says "property of the Jake," and All the while, the creepy cousin is peering through the bookshelf, like, at her, like, possibly to suggest that he's making sure that she got it, like he knew beforehand.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, that's... although, I don't know, the guy... Yeah, there's a lot of stuff with the cousin that I find interesting. He might be the killer, or one of the killers, I think.
Yeah.
So then, I guess they're talking about hiding the phone, and they're talking about...
Yeah, so Emma's like, I'm going to go tell the cops, and then Audrey's like, no, you can't do that.
Yeah, that's...
And then the cousin's like, no, you can't do that, and everyone's like, no, you can't do that. Meanwhile, Emma's just like, I want to go tell the cops, and everyone's like, no. And she's like, okay.
Which I find ridiculous, because if you tell the cops now that you so a phone was planted on you, and that you found Jake's phone or whatever, it's going to be way easier to explain
than if you're caught hiding it.
Yeah, exactly. Which, of course, eventually happens. Meanwhile,
Kieran's beard is now okay, by the way.
Yeah. His weird, like, half stash is now...
It's now a full, like, goatee sort of thing.
Yeah.
And it looks all right.
So anyway, I guess they realize that the police are searching lockers, and so he runs to find his locker. And right when he did so, I was like, "Oh, I bet he has a gun in his locker."
Because he kept a gun with him in the last season.
And sure enough, he had a gun
in his locker,
which is the stupidest thing to bring to school.
Because
I feel like you wouldn't be in that much danger at school, like with the masked killer kind of thing.
Yeah.
I mean, of course, go into the debate about schools having access to guns, which I find to be pretty ridiculous. But no, like, yeah. So he has this gun in his backpack. What I was annoyed by about the scene is that he had the bag out of his backpack, and then a cop comes up to him, asks to search his bag. He gives him the bag, fully knowing there's a gun in it, and it's kind of like, "Oh, I'm caught." But it's completely ridiculous because, you know, when it's in a locker, it's school property.
Yeah.
So the cop can search it. But if it's on the person, I don't think it does.
You sure? Is it personal property at that point?
I think so. I'm pretty sure. I'll have to go over Law and Order again. But I'm pretty sure because
if anyone knows, feel free to tell us.
So anyway, yeah, I need to bone up on my Fourth Amendment laws. Oh yeah, I had kind of an issue with this episode. So basically, I really like this episode because it takes place almost completely in the high school. Well, completely in the high school actually.
Yeah.
And it's claustrophobic. There's a lot of paranoia going on.
Yep.
Like, who's the killer?
Yep.
But the one thing that kind of annoyed me is that this is a big school.
Yep.
It looks fairly new just because of its design.
Yep.
And throughout the episode, people are running around trying to do stuff and hide things and, you know, all that stuff. Where are the cameras?
Oh, the school cameras.
Where are the school cameras? And why, later on in the episode, is the emergency door disabled? Why is the alarm disabled for that? It's very odd. And look, I don't know standard protocol when police are in a building and searching stuff, but I would think that they would have the cameras still rolling when they were searching the school.
Honestly, yeah.
Or they would be looking at the
alarms, especially because then they could tell when people are trying to escape.
Yeah, so that was kind of an issue I had with the episode, which is kind of big because the whole thing's built on this claustrophobic setting. Yep. And there's there's a lot of holes to it.
Next thing, on the topic of Kieran again with the gun, he gets caught by the cop with his gun. Then he takes him to the sheriff, and he has a little bit of a conversation with the sheriff. The sheriff tries to like butter him up, but Kieran's like, I know what you like. Tell me what you actually want. I know you're trying to butter me up. And then the sheriff's like, yeah, okay, so I want you to be my mole, or I can arrest you right now for possession of this gun. And so Kieran takes the bargain, and he is going to be the sheriff's mole.
Yeah, and we kind of, I will say this is a part of the episode that we disagreed on.
Yeah.
Because Kieran ends up basically selling out Emma and saying that she has Jake's phone.
But see, like, I don't know if I'd call it selling her out, because she didn't do it.
Kind of is, though. Because, like we were saying earlier, it's worse to get caught with that phone after you've been implicated in something, whether as opposed to giving it up yourself.
Yeah, but at the same time, Emma wasn't going to give it up herself, because just before we found, like, so the scene with the Kieran and the sheriff got cut off, like, right when the sheriff offered him a choice. He's like, the choice is yours. And then it cuts scenes back to the learning center where Emma is with creepy cousin, and
who she almost lets hide the phone.
That's exactly where I'm going.
Yeah.
Like, creepy cousin's like, hey, I can hide that phone for you if you want. And she's like, no, I think I can do it. And he's like, no, I can do it for you.
Like,
one thing less for you to worry about.
Yeah, and this is the guy who just lied to her in the previous episode about stuff.
It's
so
like, okay.
Yeah, I mean, but see, the thing is, Kieran didn't know that he was going to do that. Kieran didn't know that the cousin was going to hide it.
But, like, Kieran was around when literally everyone around Emma was saying, you gotta hide this thing.
See, my biggest issue with it is that it kind of goes against what Kieran is, because Kieran is kind of stubborn, kind of that, like, kind of like, oh, I'm not going to sell my friends. Like, I feel like he would be a guy who would die for Emma.
Right.
Right. For better or for worse, that's kind of his character. So I don't think he would sell her out. I mean, I will agree, it's better to give up that phone than to keep it. Then again, I've never been in a situation where that's had to happen.
Wait.
Why?
I'm sorry, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I zoned out for a second. Can you repeat what you just said?
I said it's better to give up that phone.
Yes.
And we agree on that.
Yes, we do agree on that.
That was a good idea to give that phone to the police.
Yeah.
But I've never been in a situation like that, so I don't know what's going through a person's head when they have incriminating evidence on themselves. They don't know how to handle that.
Right.
I don't know, though, if Kieran would be the one to sell her out.
But if you do have the incriminating evidence that, by the way, was planted on you, if you hide that, you're basically just, the gavel's already slammed on you. You're incriminating yourself.
Yeah, but then Kieran made it worse by telling them that she was concealing it.
I don't think it was worse, because he would have known that it was planted on Emma. It wasn't already in Emma's possession before that day, and by telling the sheriff that Emma had that planted on her, then that would have been better than the sheriff finding that on Emma and not believing anyone about anything. Because at that point, if he had found it on Emma just by chance, but that's anything that any of her friends said would have just been trying to defend her and wouldn't have been taken seriously.
I guess so, but that's like one of three options. It was like it's not like either one of her friends gives it up and she's in less trouble, or they find it on her. Like, she could have given it up at the first.
But
I don't know.
Like
I said, my biggest issue is Kieran giving her up. Like, specifically him.
You just think it's out of character.
I feel like he would be stubborn in that he would be like, oh, she doesn't want me to tell, so I won't. Like, I'll take the punishment for her, type of thing. Like, I feel like he would try to do that. I don't know.
Oh, next note. That privileged prankster girl needs to sit down.
Oh my god.
She really needs to sit down. Like, the whole episode. Like, the same girl who played that prank on Audrey in the very beginning of the season. She's, like, all throughout this whole episode, she's like, when Emma and Audrey walked into the auditorium to see Brooke, she was like, so they can just bend the rules? And
oh my god.
Like, throughout the whole episode, annoying. She's just, like, having this subtle commentary on everything that the Lakewood Five are doing, and it's really annoying.
Yeah. No, I find her annoying.
And that eventually all comes to fruition too with the fight.
Yeah, we'll get to that in a little bit. Let's see here. Oh yeah. The mayor comes in.
Mm-hmm.
It's so funny. Like there's a bunch of like parents who are like, "Tell us where our kids are," and then the mayor just breezes by them all, and they get all infuriated by that. And I just when he went by there, I just said, "I'm in Mad Men. Get out of my way."
Pardon me. I was in Mad Men.
Yeah, it's kind of a running joke because like, wow, that guy's kind of fallen from grace. Let's see here. So, oh yeah, the sheriff just has no shade. He's just like, "Oh yeah, we found Jake for you, Mayor," which I thought was like, I laughed out loud at that line, which is actually pretty good.
Also, the mayor's like, "Am I a suspect?" And he's like, "No. Body falling out of a banner, not your style. Icebox in a freezer in your garage. Now that's more your style."
No, that exchange was actually really good.
Yeah,
I really like their dynamic. Let's see here. So Emma starts kind of freaking out.
Yeah. While the prankster girl is like antagonizing her like the whole time. She's just throwing out wild accusations, claiming her family's like crazy, saying that anyone who's around her dies.
Yeah.
Just totally being a bitch. And Emma ends up hitting her, and she's like, "You," like the prankster girl's like, "You bitch," and then just like leaps on her and starts pounding on her.
Yeah. It's kind of a cliche, but I kind of enjoyed that there's actually some fight between that prankster girl. I wanted to see Emma beat the crap out of that prankster after that initial slap, dude. But anyway.
So the fight gets broken up by the psych teacher, and the psych teacher's like, "Okay, Emma, come with me," and leads her to, I believe, her office, some other room.
Which is weird because I don't think a psych teacher would have an individual office for herself. It is in the university. Oh, no, maybe it was a counseling office. Maybe that was it.
Oh, perhaps.
But anyway, so the psych teacher leads her in and locks her in by herself.
Sketchily, yeah.
And that was a moment where I was like, maybe the psych teacher's the killer.
Yeah.
And hear me out, because she's sort of playing the same role that Piper played in season 1. Right?
Explain.
So Piper is kind of in and out of the show. She's the only one who understands what Emma's going through, like, psychologically, I guess, because the psych teacher made attempts earlier in the season, giving her phone number, inviting her out for coffee. Also, just in terms of doing suspects and like weeding out who's either a red herring or who's actually a suspect.
Right.
I find that shows like Scream and sometimes even just murder mysteries on TV shows, sometimes they do a thing where they overexpose a person as a suspect.
And it's not actually them.
Yeah, and so it's the person who you least suspect. Unfortunately, it's become such a cliche now that like now I'm aware of like, oh, this person's not a suspect, therefore they are a suspect.
Exactly.
So the psych teacher's kind of been in and out of the show, and so if the psych teacher ends up being the killer, it would be this like, whoa, crazy revelation, kind of like how when Piper was revealed to be the killer.
Yeah,
because she wasn't in the show that much.
Yeah,
but she was
sort of a supporting.
Yeah,
character.
she was a recurring character. I don't think she was in every episode of the first season.
No.
Okay, so a teacher locks her in sketchily. She looks very creepy when she does it.
Yeah, she's like looking around. She's like, no one's watching. Click.
Yeah, no cameras around. So then the killer calls Emma, and then later I guess appears before her in the hallway.
Well, we see the killer appear before. Whether or not he actually does is suspect, because he appears in the window of the office that Emma's locked in, and she's like, okay, bring it on, and she like grabs a chair and starts wailing at the window, and by the time she actually cracks the glass, out of all the confusion, the killer's gone, and we don't exactly know whether or not the killer was actually there.
Yeah, or whether that was her PTSD. Although when talking about just logistics and who would actually be out in the hallway there,
Yeah.
it's either one or two people. It's either Noah
or the psych teacher.
Because Noah's out in the hallway.
Yeah, he went with Kieran to go to the locker,
Right.
and he got locked out of the...
Yeah, because the only other people who weren't in the learning center was Brooke, but she was being questioned by the police.
Also Emma's mom.
That's true. Who, in the episode, was taken off the case because of her personal involvement.
Yeah.
Which is actually a strangely realistic thing a show would do. Because I keep saying, like, whenever I see, like, an episode of the show Bones, I'm like, nope, she's too personally invested in that case. Or, like,
exactly.
Oh, she wouldn't be doing that in real life. No forensic investigator would do that. That's not ethical or whatever.
Right.
So now the sheriff takes her off the case, doing some really good decisions, actually.
Yeah. Also, when the sheriff is interviewing Brooke, I just want to make a mention of this. Brooke outright accuses Seth Branson. And the mayor makes a comment about Seth Branson having a restraining order on Brooke, or Brooke having a restraining order on him. And she's like, he's been sending me all these gifts, and I saw him the other day, and I think he's doing it because he was jealous of Jake.
Yeah. One thing I would say about Seth Branson, I don't suspect him that much, but because I think he's kind of like the dad of this season. And let me explain. Because in the first Scream movie, the dad, Sydney's dad, was gone for the entire movie, and so the police kind of suspected him because they're like, oh, where is this guy? We haven't been able to contact him. So he was out of the movie for the longest time. So as an audience member, you're thinking, oh, I bet the father did it. Oh, that'd be such a great twist. Oh, because and then at the end of the movie, it's revealed, oh, he's been kidnapped and like, they're gonna kill him and make it look like
frame him.
Yeah, frame him. So I feel like Seth Branson is the framed person in this season.
All right, I can buy it. Another major development in this. So, Audrey's been seriously suspicious of Gustavo for a while, and
who they call Stavo.
Stavo, sorry.
Yeah. I mean, like, we called him Gustavo for the longest time. I think we imagined
his name is actually Gustavo.
No, yeah, I know, but we I think we imagined the goose. The goose. Like, them saying the goose in front of the Stavo.
But anyway, so Audrey's like suspiciously looking at Gustavo this whole time through the bookshelves and keeping an eye on him, and she's like it's really coming to fruition. Like, she's even slipping, like when Noah comes back into the room, and Noah's like, it's not Gustavo. She's like slipping and telling him information that only she knows, like that the killer specifically told her. Eventually, she just breaks and goes over to Gustavo, steals his iPad, and looks at what he's drawing, which is the severed head of, I think it was Zoe or one of the guys. It
was Kieran at first, and then it was Zoe.
Yeah. But yeah, one of his morbid drawings, and she shows everyone in the learning center. And basically antagonizes Gustavo this whole time, just showing them all of the morbid drawings that he's been doing. Gustavo's like shouting, really, really distraught about how it's just a fantasy, how they're only his artworks.
And then of course everyone, like all the kind of muscle bound jock guys, and like everyone then starts pretty much wailing on him.
They pretty much mug him. They get him on the ground and they start kicking him.
Which actually it shows one of the true strengths of the episode, which it was pretty claustrophobic. I mean, despite whether it's too realistic a situation or not, whether they would have all of those kids in one room or not. Yeah. Also, that library is pretty small. I feel like people would be more spread out. Anyway, so they basically wail on Gustavo, which at that point I was like, I stopped suspecting him.
Yes.
Because I feel now it's all out on the table. Everyone knows he's suspicious.
Whether or not he did do shady things is up for grabs, but
I mean, to be fair, because we've said this throughout the series, like, oh, if he's shown to be creepy outright and everyone kind of knows it, he's probably not the killer because it's probably a red herring.
Right.
To be fair, Billy Loomis was kind of the same way in the original Scream movie.
True.
And he turned out to be the killer. So yeah, I don't know. But right now I'm not suspecting him.
Yeah,
and, also,
and Audrey pretty much through that just ostracized Gustavo from pretty much everyone in the school.
although in the last episode he did have that well, you call it doll face, the ghost face mask
He
in
did.
his room, as well as some pretty crazy drawings. One of a pig, which Emma saw.
Yep.
Again, he could just do some shady stuff, and he could not.
He could have, yeah.
Maybe he's a
But
killer.
that doesn't subtract from the fact that he is actually now ostracized from his friends.
So anyway, Noah is pretty angry at. Well, I don't know about angry, but just like
He's shocked.
Yeah, shocked that Audrey would ostracize a guy like that and subject him to this violence. Which I mean, it's clear. You know, if you start doing that and start doing a mob mentality against someone, there's going to be some violence. So then he steals her phone.
Because one of the things that Audrey gave up when she was cracking was that she got calls from the killer when Noah thought it was only texts.
Oh, yeah. And so then he goes on her phone, guesses her password, which I missed what the password was.
I missed it too. There were like a lot of guesses.
Yeah. And it was too quick. I don't know. Maybe if somebody would post that in the comments or something like. But then he finds all the texts, all of the GIFs or GIFs, if you will. All of those locked into Audrey's text messages with the killer, which if I was Audrey,
I wouldn't keep on my phone.
I would delete them.
You know.
Probably everyone I got, I would just automatically delete right away. So he kind of finds out.
And that's how the episode ends, with that cliffhanger.
Yeah. Although I wish, my only wish is that they hadn't used the violin, the crappy violin scream music that they had used in that scene, because like some of the great moments in television where like a character finds out a huge revelation about a case or the famous one in Breaking Bad with Hank. Just it's better with no music. I feel. Yeah. And
just like how some good spook scares are better without music.
Yeah, exactly.
Without that huge clatter of noise.
No, yeah, and especially if it's the music's bad. But yeah, anyway, I thought this episode was actually really good.
Yes, I agree. It was
like 7 out of 10, like
very
solid. Especially for an MTV horror teen show, like it was actually very good. So I should just final thoughts on who we think the killer is.
Yep.
My big suspect is the psych teacher. She locks her in the room. She's the only one who could realistically be the killer that Emma sees outside the window.
Right.
And I just feel like she is kind of following that pattern of being a television serial killer where she's the one you least suspect.
Right. I think Creepy Cousin is definitely involved, but if the vision outside the window was actually the killer, he can't be the killer.
Yeah.
I think he's involved, but that could still be a vision. Other than that, the mom is still my guess.
Unless, remember when Audrey pointed out that the emergency door didn't have an alarm on it? Anyone could have walked out of the learning center.
You're right.
Damn it.
Oh, that ruins it.
So now
it's either Creepy Cousin or mom for me.
Yeah. It's psych teacher or probably Creepy Cousin.
Yeah.
I'm still not sold on the mom yet. I could believe it though. It would be a really nice twist if the mom was the killer. Because a mother was a killer in Scream 2.
Yep.
Maybe not Sydney's mom, but anyway. Yeah, I think that pretty much wraps it up.
I think we're good.
Yeah. So tell us your thoughts on the episode in the comments.
If you like what you hear, please support us, subscribe, all that fun stuff.
Yep. All right. I'm Nick.
I'm Justin.
And this is Scream Review.